All right, everybody, welcome back to Gridiron Gang, a Detroit News Lions podcast. Who the heck are you?
Well, you finally invited me.
That's been the problem.
I'd like, you guys do this? Hello, I've been around here for a while. I can probably help you out a little bit, but no. Good to be with the fellas.
If you didn't recognize the voice, that is Bob Wojnowski. I'm Nolan Bianchi. With us, as always, is my partner in crime, Richard Silva. Richard, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good because Bob's here.
Yeah,
finally.
Better than I've ever been.
I'm glad to be here too. I really am. I know sometimes I run a little bit late writing my little column and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to be here.
Well, that's what the people love you for. You always go the extra mile.
You don't rush art.
Yeah.
No.
Leonardo didn't rush the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, and you don't rush a meal either. That's my other thought.
That's right. I like that. So if you can't tell by the tone of the podcast, we just watched a football game that is a lot of words to describe it. Boring might be one of them, but I think 5 years ago, if you told the Lions fans that a 34-10 victory would be a boring game, they take that. But a game where could be classified as a trap game coming in. They come out, they handle their business, win 34-10. Just impressive. Impressive in a win that didn't look that impressive.
Right, rudimentary, more or less, which is fine. You'll take rudimentary, and I kind of am beginning to believe, since the Lions are 15-2 last year, 18-3, not kind of playoff games, that they don't play the trap game. It doesn't seem like they do, and I know Campbell stresses it and says all the right things, and they seem to take it to heart.
So I got to stay here for you. Among active NFL head coaches, Dan Campbell is the highest winning percentage against the spread in games that they're favored. He's won 63.8% of games against the spread in games where the Lions are favored. And he actually talked about the idea of a trap game today because you're right. It doesn't seem to impact this team. He said one of the things that Coach Bill Parcells used to do is he'd hang mouse traps all over the locker room to remind players that if you're not careful, you'll get trapped. But this team does not seem to need any of that.
And Taylor Decker talked about it in the locker room as well, just kind of how almost like Dan is good at predicting the future about how these games are going to go. We heard it last year. I mean, we saw it on the Netflix series, last year's Packers game at home, where he was like, offense, it is all you. Yeah. We're going for it on fourth down, up and down the field. They go for it 5 times, go 5 for 5, I'm pretty sure, last year. Then Taylor Decker brings up last week's Ravens game where they say, it's going to be the offense again. We're going for it every time on fourth down. They go 3 for 3 on fourth down. And then this week he flips it, Dan Campbell does, and says the defense. We're going to need you to get the ball back to the offense. We're going to need you to put the offense back on the field. They get 3 turnovers today. And it's just, he's very good, Dan Campbell is at, like I said, almost predicting how these games are going to go.
And I think that's because he knows his team. And he said it last Friday, I think it was, that almost the chameleon-like nature of them, that they can adapt to different environments. Cleveland had a great defense. You couldn't really count on just running it straight up the gut against them. And Montgomery got, 12 yards on 9 carries? So they adjusted, and their defense really got after the 92-year-old Joe Flacco. But I do love their, like I said, their chameleon-like nature, and that's what Campbell was talking about when he says the offense and then the special teams today. He told Dave Fitt, maybe tell Khalif Raymond, cut one loose, be more aggressive. He literally told him, and then go, okay, boom, 65-yard touchdown. Very, I really like the way this team morphs. It fits whatever environment it needs to fit. And that said, there will be 4 games in, so we still got a lot to do, but very good signs early on.
Yeah, the complimentary football was lights out today. 24 points off of turnovers and special teams, 17 points coming off of turnovers, and then the Khalif Raymond punt return touchdown. DJ Reed had an interception. Hutchinson had a strip sack. Kirby Joseph had an interception. A little bit of issue there, possibly, though, however, because the secondary is a little bit banged up. Kirby Joseph leaves the first half with a knee injury, one that's plagued him since the beginning of training camp. DJ Reed ends up with a hamstring injury that looks like it could be somewhat serious. And then Terran Arnold also leaving the game with a shoulder injury. Reed and Arnold did not return. Campbell said after the game that it seems like it'll be a little bit more serious for Reed than it is for Arnold, but ultimately still not a ton of clarity.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how the severity of it. You saw it with it. Even Dan Campbell was like, we all saw it with Reed. You know what I mean? That he came up lame. He came up when he tried to jump to get the pass deflection. He grabs the back of his leg. If he can't go, if him or Terry Arnold can't go, I'm assuming we're going to see a lot more Amik Robertson on the outside, which we started to see this game because they were exchanging some Terry Arnold snaps in exchange for Amik Robertson on the field, but I thought Amik played well, which kind of gives you some hope for the future if Reed or if Arnold are to be down for any amount of time. But it is worrisome, especially Reed, I would say.
Yeah, and why can't they keep defensive backs healthy? I mean, every team has a spot that they seem to get hit by, and it's definitely the Lions. But you know what I find interesting, and they're compensating very nicely for it. Like, two of the big question marks before the season, like, oh, that offensive line, I don't know, you got two young guys, and the defensive line, I just got Hutch all by himself. They're not going to get any sacks at all. They're on a 3-game, haven't allowed a sack streak in the first time in history, the offensive line. And they have 10 sacks by their defense in the last 2 games. And Hutch looked like Hutch again today. And again, maybe the product of the competition a little bit today, but not last week against Baltimore. Things can change very quickly, and which is why you need to be a chameleon. You guys should try that.
We kind of are. We'll go with you. We'll go with John.
Yeah.
We'll go by ourselves.
You'll write.
We
You'll
can do
talk.
We'll podcast anytime, any place.
Yeah. No, it's impressive so far, except for that one little opener.
No, absolutely. Jared Goff, not his best day today. He had a misconnection with Jameson Williams all day, and I'm actually looking at it right now.
Yeah.
He had 8 targets to Jameson Williams, 2 receptions. So that's 6 incompletions, which makes up 66.6% of his incompletions today. So he was 16 for 27, 168 yards, 86.7 passer
This one's a thinker.
with 2 touchdowns and an interception. I wouldn't go that far, but Jared Goff, again, not his best day, but it's kind of hard to have your best day when you got Malik Collins and Myles Garrett breathing down your neck every single snap. And again, just a situation where they understand the moment, they understand what a game requires, and they get it done.
Yeah, and he owns it too. He said after, I did say, J-Mo dropped a couple, but I blew a couple as well, and it was my fault on the penalties. But that's the thing, and that's one of the best things that Jared Goff does. Some of his best football is in his worst games. Like, even if he's not having a great game, he doesn't force it. He doesn't, blow up at anybody, at a receiver, drops the ball, just rides it calm and cool. And no, that wasn't his best game at all. But he only threw the 1 pick, and that was a bad pick, he admitted. Mm-hmm. But it's steady as can be.
And he was still locked in with a guy like St. Brown. I think they had 7 for 7 on their targets for 70 yards, a couple touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I think St. Brown's got like 23 catches on his past 26 targets over the last 3 games, which is just typical Goff and St. Brown stuff. You remember the run they had last year where it was like 30 consecutive completions or whatever that they had. So even when, you have a game that Goff isn't Goff's best, you still have that connection that exists. And with Laporta as well.
The defensively, just to get into some statistics here, Cleveland leading rusher Quinshon Judkins held to 3.9 yards per carry, 82 yards on 22 attempts, and then 92-year-old Joe Flacco, as you just alluded to, 16 of 34 passing for 184 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 39.3. That's not great.
No, that's low. I thought I saw a note from the Lions after the game. Did you see that? I think that's the first time they held a quarterback who threw at least 30 passes under 50% completion in like several years.
Yeah.
I may be misquoting it, but
I don't remember it, but that sounds
I believe you.
Yeah. You can look it up. The Lions, they send out notes. Just type it in to look it up. Something like that. But Flacco is, make him go away. Leave him alone.
And I just think what's so fascinating about this team is that stat that you alluded to. It seems every single week, and this goes true to back to the start of last season. Every single week we get another stat like this. Last week it was the Ravens haven't allowed a 95+ yard touchdown at home since 2001, which, by the way, we mentioned that on the Postgame podcast. It's since at least 2001 because that's when drive data became available. So for all we know, there's a very real chance that the Ravens, who were invented in 1995 or whatever, never allowed that to happen. And it's just every single week they have some sort of mind-blowing statistic that's like, for the first time since Benny Oosterbaum was running Michigan's program. And it's so impressive that not only are they winning games, and they're historic at every step of the way.
And even like they're non-historic. So Jahmyr Gibbs somehow had like the quietest 91-yard touchdown performance like of all time. He averages more than 6 a carry, and it's like he had the 2 explosive runs, like the 24-yarder and the 22-yarder. And you look up at the end of it, and it's like, yeah, I think that the running backs played okay. David Montgomery got stuffed a lot, and then they look, and I'm like, geez, like almost at 100. Like, you know what I mean?
But the offensive line, and they did well, as good as they could, run blocking. But even Goff was talking about what the tackles did, Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, against Myles Garrett and the Cleveland front, no sacks, was phenomenal. And Goff even said, and guys, I think detected the same thing, that Garrett lined up opposite Decker quite a bit on that side, and he had his hands full, and they kept him off of Goff. And we knew the Lions had excellent tackles. We wondered about the guards. They seemed to be, and you don't hear any concerns about Graham Glasgow so far, the new center this season. Maybe, just maybe, it's coming together quicker than they thought.
And even those other guys that weren't blocking Garrett, I thought, because I think Garrett had like 9 pressures or something. Even when he did get those pressures, I thought Goff, one, showed like good mobility, which I think he's done like a good bit this year.
He did actually, yes.
And I think that's not only a credit to him, but also a credit to the rest of the offensive line for doing their jobs, creating, lanes and avenues within the pocket that Goff could avoid Garrett, and he did. I mean, he doesn't get sacked once.
You know what's funny? You tell Goff something that, you may be kind of immobile, or, you guys have... He takes it to heart. I mean, he was...
You tell Jared Goff that?
Yes. He was nimble out there today. And he jokes about, I can't move. But just like he joked about, I can't play in cold weather. Oh, what did I just do? And I don't know, keep coming up things that you want to see more out of him. I guarantee you he'll attack it.
A couple more notes today. Jake Bates, 2 for 2 on field goals, one of 52 yards, and another one that tied a career long from 58. I can't remember which one it was. It was the oddest field goal of all time. It looked like a wiffle ball pitch where it started inside the uprights by like 5 yards, and then it drifted to outside the uprights, and then it like whipped back inside and cleared the upright like by a pretty decent margin considering where the ball just was. Very odd, but again, he combines for 10 points.
And Jake Bates is excellent, obviously, but a 50-yard field goal is not even special anymore in the NFL. Yeah. When he lined up for that, it looked like it would have been good from 78.
Yeah, I made a comment on Twitter. The ball hit the net like 80% of the way up.
Aside from it knuckling, like it had, like you said, distance from 70 plus.
So now we sit here with the Lions at 3-1, heading on the road to face a Cincinnati team that does not have a quarterback. Don't want to count chickens before they're hatched, but bada bing, bada boom, everything's looking okay in Lions land.
Okay, can we pledge now? The three of us, and I'll pass it on.
Yeah.
Can we pledge from this point forward, before the season starts, to never play the schedule game? Do not play that. Okay, let's see that. That's a win. That's a loss. That's the toughest schedule you've ever seen. The most brutal schedule we've ever seen. And the Ravens he beat. The Bengals are beaten up.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs rebounded, but they're still not as powerful, perhaps, as we thought. Eagles will be tough, but they're set up pretty well.
We'll see what happens in that Chiefs game, but they've got Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks now before the bye. They might be a favorite in every one of those games.
Right.
At Arrowhead, maybe not. But to go into the bye, if they win the games they're favored in, can you imagine going to the bye 6-1, where coming out of week 1 we were thinking about this team?
And I even said after week 1, I said, I do have faith that the Lions will figure it out, but it's a matter of picking up enough wins to qualify for the playoffs. And that looks pretty stupid now in hindsight.
Yeah.
I was concerned about.
Yeah. I mean, and lesson learned, don't play the schedule game.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, why are you so much higher than me?
I don't know. That's a skill issue, I think. You got to.
Well, why did you push me way down?
I actually did try to lower my seat, and you hear that? That's the lever. It's not working.
Okay, now we're good. All right. I just noticed that.
Anything you want to get off your chest? First time here in a while. Any
I miss you guys.
complaints?
Yeah, love the Gridiron Gang. It's on, what is it, once a month or so you do it?
Once a week, but yeah, that's
fine. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I never miss one. No, I do. You guys, seriously, you guys do have great insight. You let Neo come in sometimes?
Yeah.
I have to work on that just a little bit. But no, it's fun. You guys keep it fun. The team is fun. The fans have fun. There's nothing not to like right now.
Yeah, and when I look back at the some of the games they played last year, one of the games that sticks out to me is that Jaguars game where they allow Calvin Ridley to go out for 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and everybody, even after the game, is like, well, they did win by 38, but I didn't like the way they allowed those receiving yards in the first quarter. Just enjoy it, guys. This team is unbelievable once again. I think, it would take a lot for me to believe that they are not going to be this team. I don't know what would need to happen in these next few games or in the back half of the season for me to quit believing in this team, but from now until the end of time, until Dan Campbell is no longer a Detroit Lion, I'm inclined to believe that this team is going to win a lot of games.
And the only thing, and I hate to say it, and I hope the only thing that ever seems to stop them is injuries. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's, definitely what stopped them last year, but I think it was definitely what stopped them last year. And be careful with that secondary right now. That's the only thing.
Yeah, they won't say it, but I think we will. You know what I mean for that team last year. But no, I've got nothing to add. Vibes are as high as they've been in the past month.
Mm-hmm. And on this podcast.
Because.
Yeah, because of me, right? Yeah, I got one thing to add. Mm-hmm. You know all the higher ups here in Ford Field, right? Let's work on the postgame piece.
Oh, okay, yes.
It's and with all due respect, I'm not complaining about British food, but a little bit different, maybe. I mean, I'm not asking for a filet mignon.
They are sponsored by Little Caesars,
No, I'm
Grease
kidding.
the palms of the sponsorship. Get us some better pizza. Everybody wins.
They do a good job. I always find myself eating one of those individual pizzas afterwards. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah. Eric Woodyard from ESPN came up to me after the Chicago game last year, and he said, "Man, you're the king of crappy post-game pizza." And I said, "That is so mean." And now every time he sees me after a game with a post-game pizza, he just laughs and shakes his head. And so now I gotta rethink where and when I eat this pizza.
Mean but accurate.
Yes,
absolutely.
You don't like post-game pizza, do you?
No, I love pizza, but I can't. Unfortunately, I don't do this one.
New Yorker. New York snobbery. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this one. Thanks for Woj for joining us. Check out DetroitNews.com. We're going to have lots of content coming out of this game. And looking at the Bengals game next, we're also going to have lots of content looking ahead to that one as well. DetroitNews.com. Subscribe. There's never been a more relevant time to be a Detroit News subscriber.
Big game.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Fun.